Hello all, good morning. Let's start the today's session. So just for the recap, in the previous session, we are seeing how to create a trial account of Salesforce. In the Salesforce, to start with the Salesforce, first we need to understand what are the editions supported by the Salesforce. That is unlimited, professional, enterprise, group edition, and developer. These are the different editions which we have. And there is some licenses. As you know, what is the license in the sense based upon the requirement that we are going to create and users in the system, right? I mean to say, we have like different modules or different clouds or different applications like sales application, service, or marketing. There might be a different roles and responsibilities for each and every user. Now, let's say if you are dealing with sales cloud, there will be a salesperson, sales manager, sales representative, and all. In the same way, if you deal with marketing, there will be a marketing agent, marketing managers, and all. If you take the customer service, again, there is separate roles. So here the license is the first point where you can define the system. So based upon the user requirement, we are going to assign some licenses to the user. So the the license is just to provide access to your instance. What is instance here? Whatever the trial account or whatever the account we have created with the Salesforce, this will be referred as instance or organization URL. In some companies, I mean to say, in some projects, they used to call it as instances or organization URL, right? In different terminology, they can refer it as instance or organization URL. So to start with the trial account, I have provided developer.salesforce.com/signup. This is the URL where you can create a trial account. This is for free version only. So no need of putting any charges on it. So for that, we are just making use of this developer trial. And yesterday we have seen what is the prerequisite to create a trial account. Just the Gmail account is sufficient, where you need to create first name, last name. You need to provide first name, last name, and work email. Work email is nothing but your Gmail account. And then you will receive an email to your mailbox where you can reset the password, and the user ID will also be generated and received over that email. So yesterday we have created, and this is my username. And to log into this application or the system, you can use this URL directly. Otherwise, you can simply go with login.salesforce.com. So this is what yesterday we have created the trial account, and this is my instance there. Now, just to explore more about the Salesforce, I just tried to explain you the terminology here, just comparing with the database as SQL Server or Oracle or whatever. We are going to refer it as table, and here we are going to refer it as object. And columns, here we are referring it as fields, records, rows, and records. This is the yesterday we are discussing. And to start with Salesforce, simply you can use login.salesforce.com. This is the URL, and you can provide your username and password. You can click on login so that it will take you to the login page. It will, as I said, every time while logging, it will ask for the phone number. That's up to you. We can provide it or not. It's not mandatory. You can ignore the phone number. And also we have seen the navigation, like how the Salesforce looks like and what are the different items we have, like app launcher, and this is the tabs and the profile and the settings setup or whatever. I just explored the details here. Right? This is what actually we are discussing in the yesterday's session. Today, let's discuss something more, where after creating a trial account, what would be the next action there? So we need to understand, let me take the new notepad here. So we need to understand how to set up your company information. And like business hours and any calendar, right? Like these items, let's try to explore these items in the today's session. So as you know, any companies after purchasing a license, they need to create some users in the system. So the user can start utilizing the system. So how to create an user? So let's see all this stuff. Let's see all this stuff in the today's session. So before understanding these items, yesterday we are discussing about the tables or objects, right? Here the object is nothing but, let me go with the sales here. This is the app launcher where you can switch between the different applications or clouds. Here, if you see here, accounts, contacts and all. So where it is storing? In the database, right? So where we can see what is the space I have with the, once I purchase the license with the Salesforce, what is the space it is allocated to me, and how this space is occupied by different objects or not. So where we can get all this information, let's try to explore all these items in the today's session, right? So to start the, if a, give me a second. Sorry for the interruption. So here, to set the company information and all, where the place. So that means whatever the page you are seeing, this is like user, front-end user who are actually using the system, right? So the front-end user in the sense, now let's say you are dealing with RD automobiles. So as you are working as a developer or consultant, you need to configure the system. And the front-end user is nothing but your client. The client uses these pages or the front-end page where they can access the functionality or not. But if you want to implement some configurations or customization, you should be navigating to the setup. So here, the top right corner, you could see the settings icon, click on setup. This is the place where actually you are working on the throughout your project, I mean to say. So if you see here, this is the quick find and these are the different items which is available to configure. So this is the place where you are going to configure the system. So here, every time we are using the two terminology here, one is configuration and one is customization. So in the interview as well, they will ask what is configuration and what is. I'm sorry, extremely sorry. It's like continuous calls from my project people. Okay. So the regular terminology which we are dealing here is like configuration and customization. So what is configuration and what is customization in the sense? In the interview perception as well, they will ask, do you have any experience in the configuration or do you have any experience in the customization? So what is configuration? What is customization in the sense? Here in the configuration part, here we are going to set up your organization data, that is nothing but company, setting up the company information, business hours, calendars and all, and creating of users, create users and security roles. So applying the security to the data, like providing security access, data access to the users. These particular jobs, everything comes under configuration part. Getting my point? And what is customization? Customization is nothing but creating objects, developing some code, adding extra functionalities like by using the code only. So this everything comes under configuration or the customization part. Getting my point? So here configuration and customization, everything we can carried in the setup page. Setup page. The navigation is top right corner, you could see here. And here these are the items, different items which we are going to learn in our regular sessions, like what actually we are going to use and all. Now let's see the basic information like company information, which we are discussing here. Company info. So if you, this is a quick find, instead of searching here, you can simply use this quick find. This quick find will take you to that particular location. So you can go with the company information here, search with the company information. This is your company information. So this is like basic company settings where the business hours are calendar, public calendar, company information, everything you can set here. If you see the company information, while creating an account, I have given the company information as YIT. I mean to say, while creating a trial account, it asks me for the first name, last name, work email, and company, right? This is my company, YIT, which I given. So organization name and primary contact, it's like as it is like trial account, it automatically picks some dummy data. And address, financial year starts from January, newsletter opted, and this is the primary details like phone number, whatever you have provided and all. So if you see here, the total user data space till now 346 KB, where we have some dummy data, right? This is like basic information about your company's information. So if you want to edit something, if you want to edit something here, you can click on edit button and you can change the organization name, or you can opt for newsletters or what, or enter the phone number. You can make these changes there. And if you scroll down, you could see user licenses. So these are the licenses which is provided by the Salesforce CRM. So what is this licenses in the sense? Now, if you see the Salesforce license, so if you want to perform the customization or configuration in your system, you should definitely have this Salesforce license. Without this Salesforce license, you can't customize or you can't configure the system. Remember this point, right? So I mean to say, once you are getting a job and you are added to any project, you will get the license of Salesforce license there. So with the Salesforce license, you can able to customize or configure the system. You know what is customized and what is configured, right? So for the trial account, it shows total licenses is 4, user licenses is 2, right? Remaining licenses is 2. That means you can create 2 more users in the system. And why these different licenses in the sense, each license has their predefined functionality. I mean to say here, chatter free is nothing but there is some for internal communication, there is some chat option there to chat within the team. Now, you know the Teams meeting, like Microsoft provide the Teams meeting, and we have the Zoom meeting, right? So where we can chat with our colleagues or with the customers or not. In the same way, it's like Salesforce. Salesforce provides chatter free. It's an application where it comes with the Salesforce license. So it provides these many licenses for the chatter free. So if you provide the chatter free license to the user can able to use this chatter free application where it can be used to communicate with the colleagues or customers. And if you want to do some integration part, so definitely you should have the Salesforce integration. Then only you can integrate. You can work on the integration user stories, right? This is like each and every have like different story. I mean to say, different requirement. Based upon the requirement or based upon your work, your job role, the license will be assigned to you, right? So this will show you the list of licenses available in the Salesforce CRM. And permission set licenses. This permission set licenses will be discussed at the time of discussing the security concept. So how you are providing the security to the data. Now let's say account and contact is my objects available in the system where it consists of my customer's information, right? So what type of access you are going to provide to the users? So whoever accessing my system, so what type of permission you are going to provide? So I need to secure my customer's data, right? So data will have some, if I have the data, then only I can make the business, right? So to make the business, you need to secure your data. So with this particular permission set licenses, you are going to provide some restricted access to the confidential data. So this will be explained in detail while discussing the security concepts. This is like some feature license. So now let's say you have some marketing agents. Simply you can have the marketing user. This license, if you apply, all the marketing related components can be accessed. So this is like different licensing base. This will be taken care by your top management, which license to be assigned. So these licenses will be discussed in detail in the coming session. Usage based entitlement. This is nothing but what is entitlement? If you are having any agreement, if you are purchasing any product, you will have some entitlement with the company, right? So now I have purchased the Salesforce license. Now let's say this is my trial account, but if you are purchasing a license with premium license, premium version, then there will be some entitlement with you and the Salesforce. So what is the entitlement? It contains how many API requests per month, how many API requests I can have. Now, if you see monthly, I can have 450,000, 450,000 of API requests I can use for this trial account. What is API request? Application programming interface, where if you are sending any request to the server. Now, let's say I'm just refreshing the browser. That means I'm sending a request to the server to refresh so that the request will send to the Salesforce server and hit the server and get the appropriate response to me. Now, if you are trying to access any record there, or if you have any action, you are performing with any action to the server, that will be treated as an API, right? So this is like API limitations, where while discussing the Apex code, Apex development time, you will get more knowledge on this API request or not. So this is the entitlements, how like B2B commerce, everything, like what is entitlement and whatever the features you are getting with the Salesforce, that is like basic primary information. Like what is the licenses you have, what is the request you have, what is the limitations we have, that everything can be seen in this company's information there, right? So the business hours, you could see the business hours here. So where each and every company will follow the different business hours based upon the time zone. You know, APAC time zone is like from morning 6 to 2, and EMEA from 2 to 11, and NAM from night 6 to morning 2, based upon our IST time zone, right? So you can define your own business hours here. So you can define your own business hours, like let's say APAC, right? You can give the time zone, and the Sunday from Monday to Friday, you can define some time. So why this is required in the sense? So while you are dealing with the security concepts, right, while you are dealing the security concepts, you can also restrict the user not to log into the system beyond the business working hours, beyond the business hours. That means now let's say you are dealing with some ICICI bank, from bank project. So more confidential, more security is required, right? So you can have some business hour so that you can also restrict the users, even though they are your employees, even though they have the licenses, or even though they have the security or permissions, but still you can restrict the users not to log in beyond the business hours. Getting my point? So where you can set up this business hours here. So once you set up the business hours, while discussing the security concept, we can implement that. We can restrict the user not to log in beyond the business hours, right? And public calendars and resources here. What is this public calendars? Any organization, you know, the working hours, non-working hours, public holidays, everything can be maintained some calendars, not only the holidays and all. Now, every company has some resources, and resources is like there may be conference rooms, like conference room 1, room 2, room 3, and there may be some projectors and all. So if you want to use there will be different teams are working there, different project teams are working there. So if you want to book some conference room, right? So you can see this calendar, these public calendars and resources can be taken, where they can maintain all the resources here. Now let's say I have 5 conference rooms there. They will maintain the calendar here in the 5 conference room, which is booked or which is not booked. So to maintain this information, this is for internal purpose only. And company information we have seen. Data protection and privacy, this is like where the terms and conditions you need to satisfy. Just you need to check this, make data protection details available in record. So that's just we are providing some agreement with the Salesforce, with the Salesforce team. This will automatically taken care based upon the region. Now, if you go with the Indian region, the data protection policy is different. If you go to the EMEA region, EMEA region, like African countries and all, the data protection differs. So this you need to provide some I need to say acceptance there. So data protection and privacy. And financial year. So you can set up the financial year here. Currently it is from January. Now let's say you need to you think like we need to start the financial year from every April. So you can update the financial year here. So this is like basic. Once you created a trial account, this is like basic thing which we need to set up this company information, business hours or whatever. So most probably, if you are into any project, you may not get the chance to work on these items. Why? Because at that time it's already designed, so it's already done. But if you are joined in any project where you need to do from the scratch, right? At that time only you maybe need to perform these actions and all. So holidays, you can register the holidays of your thing, but language settings, which is important. What is this language settings? Now let's say I'm dealing with Audi company again. Audi is not only available in India, right? Throughout the globe, it is available in many countries. So Audi can have the users or the employees from different regions. Now from the India, I'm familiar with in English language, so I can see all these particular application in the English. So whatever I'm seeing here, this is available to see in the English. So Salesforce provide multilingual, multi-language support. It supports the multi-language here. That means if you see, if you are enabling here, enable end user languages, enable platform only languages. So if you enable both the things, now there is lot of languages which you could see, French, Hindu, Urdu, Bengali, and everything, right? So that means you are just, if you are as an admin, as an administrator, if you are enabling this, so these are the available languages supported by the Salesforce CRM. And these are the displayed languages. Now let's say you want to add this language as well. If you want to add the Greek, just put this to this box, displayed languages. And once this is saved, now any user wants to access the Salesforce in different language, then they can also access the Salesforce in that language, in their local language, I'm going to say. Getting my point? So that means if you are from IST region, whatever the data you are seeing, that will be in the rupees. So if any user logs from the US region, that's automatically converted to the dollars, right? And everything will be showcased in the dollars. So that automatically Salesforce will take care of it. That means Salesforce support multi-language here, right? And this is my domain. My domain is nothing but whatever we have created. I said you may call it as organization URL. You can call it as instance. You can call it as domain URL. So what is your domain? Domain is nothing but your URL. Google.com. Google.com is a domain, right? ICICIbank.com. ICICI Bank is domain. So this is my domain, right? And in the coming sessions, we are going to see there will be routing and policies. So what is this routing and policies in the sense? Now let's say I have this organization URL. Let's say currently I have this organization URL. So instead of going with this organization, I can also have some other name there. Now let's say here I could see gogle.com. If I click this one, so it should route to Google only. Now you could see it is routing to Google. That means with the different domain, with the different domain as well, it is routing to the Google. This is like, there will be some routing policies. Maybe here it is like spelling mistake, something, but there will be some real-time scenarios where, let's take an Adidas.com. Adidas is a shoe company or the sports company, right? ADIDAS or ADI.com. So both domains belongs to them. If end user was trying to access any link, it should route to the same organization URL. It should route to the same website. So this can be implemented, this can be achieved by using the routing rules concept. So this is routing and policies will be discussed in the coming session. So in this domain here, we are going to provide some routing rules in the coming sessions. At that time, you can understand how these routings and policies can be applied. So that with these routing rules, the URL will be automatically redirected. So instance, whatever the domain you are going to provide, like this I have shown, GOGLE, redirected to GOGLE, right? So in that way, we can also define some redirection rules here so that it will be redirected. For that, but both the domains should owned by you. That is like different concept. We'll discuss in detail in the coming sessions, right? Now, you know how to set up this company information and all. So what would be the next important thing here? You should understand the storage, right? Any company, the storage is very much important. That means if you are dealing with the data, you need to understand what is the space and all. So this is the place where you could see the storage information. So you can use the same setup, and in the home you can search with the storage. It shows the storage uses. So here coming to the storage. So let me give some background about it. Now, any database, it will provide some space for the storage, right? So in Salesforce, it will be like data storage. Whatever the storage we have, that will be divided or segregated into three different parts. One is data storage, one is file storage, and one is big object storage. What does it mean in the sense? Now, let's say we have an object in the database, like account is an object, right? Now, let's say I'm going to create some records in the account object. What is records? Maybe account number, account number, account name, everything is like my data, right? So for the same account, I need to upload some documents to this account. Now, let's say I have a client, client or my customer, where I need to have the customer's information like his bio data or whatever the qualifications, the certificates or whatever. So here I am just taking the data of the customer along with the files there. So now what will happen? Automatically the system will store that files information in this file storage. So to make it simple, now let's say I have 100 GB, 10 GB, 100 GB of space, right? So this is how the Salesforce maintain all this in the backend. That's what I'm trying to explain here. Once you purchase a license, this will be taken care by the Salesforce. But as a consultant, as a developer, you should understand how the Salesforce maintaining in the backend, maintaining the data in the backend, right? Now let's say you have purchased 100 GB of space with your licenses, with your version, you got 100 GB. Now what the Salesforce will do in the sense, you have different tables for each and every table. Now let's say account is an object. For the account object, it allocates some space. Now let's say it allocated 1 GB of space per account table to store the account data. So again in the 1 GB, it will be segregated into two parts, data and file space. Now let's say for data, it is like 500 MB. Just assuming, giving some numbers here just to make you understand. This is 500 MB. So that means it is making some difference. It is partitioning the existing whatever the space. It is just dividing the space into two different parts. Now this account table has the data like account number, account name, and account address. This is nothing but the data of that record that will be stored in this data space. If I am uploading some documents to that particular account, right? The documents will be stored in this space. Getting my point? So that means this is how the Salesforce maintains in the backend. So for this, from our end, we are not going to perform anything. So this will be taken care by the Salesforce. In the interview perception, they may ask how the data will be maintained in the database. So what is the data storage? So what do you know about the data storage? This type of. So for that you need to explain, like the Salesforce will maintain the data storage. It will be segregated into three different parts. One is data storage, another one is file storage, and the other one is big object storage. For each and every table, the Salesforce will automatically maintain two different parts it will segregate into two different parts. One is for, it will allocate some space for the data, and it will allocate some space for the file, right? Then what is this big object storage? This big object storage is nothing but, as the name defines, here it talks about big object, right? Now, if you feel that there is an object, this object will consume more data. Let's say this object will consume more data. Let's say there is an object like activity, right? There is an object like activity. This activity will maintain all the activities of the customer. Let's say I have a customer, I have a contact object in the database. This contact consists of all my customers' information. So whenever I am my sales agent or marketing agent or customer service agent communicating with that customer, I need to maintain each and every log of that customer. So let's say I made a phone call to the customer. I need to maintain all the phone log, whatever I have discussed with the customer. I need to maintain a logs. If I am collected any documents from them, I need to store in my database. If he asks any question through the email, I need to reply to the email communication. That will be like big data. For each and every customer, hundreds of transactions, then total, let's assume like each and every customer has 100 logs there. So I have like thousands of customers. Then that particular table size is too big, right? So if you feel that the object is going to have the huge data, then while creating an object itself, you can select it as big object. There is an option which I can show you while creating an object. Just there is a checkbox. Once you are creating, whenever you are creating an object, you need to just select that checkbox so that that object will be treated as a big object. Getting my point? So that for this big object, the separate space will be allocated. Now let's say in 100 GB, 1 GB for 50 GB for the other objects, only 50 GB for the big object. Getting my point? So that is how the database will be maintained in the backend. So why this is required in the sense, if company will invest, any client will invest some money to purchase some resources like the space or licenses and all. So every company will have some auditing by every year, by every end of the year, like financial year. In their scrutiny, they will check like what is the maximum storage, what is the maximum data consumed. I mean to say, what is the which table consumed more space. So in that scenario, they can redefine their data. I mean to say, if they feel like this is unwanted funding. So some of the files, now let's say they have dealt with some customers and that deal got closed and it is not required for them. So they can free up the storage of file storage. They can simply free the file storage space here, so that they will get extra space there, right? So instead of removing the data, whatever they need to target, they can target on that particular space. This is like, which provides some extra benefit to the customer so that they can easily use the database space. That's it. So as a consultant, you no need to bother about how the Salesforce is maintaining all this stuff there. But as a consultant, you should understand like how this is getting maintained, right? So now let's come back to the trial account here. The storage usage, here it shows storage type, three types of storage spaces. One is data storage, file storage, and big object storage. If you see here, this is like trial account where we have the less space there. So as this is trial account, we can't go with the huge one. Why? Because it is a trial, free version, right? For data storage, it is limit 5 megabytes, 5 MB, and currently we have used 346 KB. So what is this used in the sense? Currently we have some data on the account table. Now let's say this is my accounts, it has some data, right? So dummy data, it has some dummy data. The dummy data, whatever the space occupied by the data, it shows the 346 KB. And files again, for 20 MB it is allocated for files, and currently it is occupied 17 KB. Here shows the percentage of that. And for the big object storage, you could see maximum for the big object storage. Currently there is no big objects available there. So all the system objects, whatever the system objects we have, that everything is like a regular object only. So by behavior, I mean to say, whenever you are creating a trial account, there will be no single big object available in the system. So if you want to create based upon the requirement, you can create a big object, right? And current data storage usage, here where you get like how the data was consumed. So which table consumes more data. Now, these are the different objects available in the database. As I said, once you purchase the license, like you can plug and play the Salesforce. Already 60 to 70% applications already developed, right? So we'll discuss in detail like what is sales, what is service, what is marketing, what is the flow of it, and everything will be discussed in the coming sessions. But for now, as you are dealing with some applications, that applications will have some database. That database consists of some tables or objects. So what is the current space occupied by that object? That's what actually we are discussing here. If you see opportunity, cases, leads, these are the objects in the database. For the opportunities, there is total 31 records, storage occupied 62 KB, and percentage is 18%. This is how the companies will decide like which object is occupying more space or not, right? So once this is done, so I mean to say this where you can get this information. And if you scroll down and same, what is the file storage usage? So which object is occupying more space for the files or not? You will get this information, as well as same for the big object. So currently there is no big object, so that is the reason it is not showing any information. Not only that one, here it shows top users by data storage usage. That means which user was inserting more records. That means there will be a traction on each and every action for every action. So I mean to say there will be a lot of users using the Salesforce, but still like which user consuming more data. I mean to say which user was inserting or feeding more data. that everything will be tracked in the system, where this is the place where you can get all this information, where you can get all the stuff. Getting my point? Top users by data storage users. Now let's say this is the sum of the system users and Yaksha IT, the user which I have created. It is 2 KB, just we have done nothing, just like 1 or 2 records, so it shows 2 KB, right? Same top users by file storage, like which user has inserted the files, which user has uploaded the files. This shows this information. This is the storage usage where we need to check for the database storage information. We can check here. So you can make use of this quick find where you can quickly search for it like storage. You will get the storage page and all. Now, after getting the information like company information, like business hours, this setting and all. So what would be the next action plan? The next action would be you need to understand how to create an user, right? So how to create an user? So now you have created, you have purchased the license, you have created a Salesforce account. Now you need to create some users in the system so that the user log into the Salesforce and they can start using or start developing the functionality in the system, right? So what we need to consider and how to create the users. Let's see that part. How to create an user here. So again, here, you may think like in general, in the starting stage, what is the mistakes we do in the sense? Now, let's say here, I have the recruiting application. Sorry, I have the sales application or sales cloud here. So as I said, these are my objects. Like account is my object, contact is my object. So user is also an object where it consists of users information, right? So, but if you are trying to search here, there will be no user. So the user, you can't create the user from front end. Getting my point? The front end user can't create the user record. So to create an user, definitely you should be in the setup page. You should be in the setup page, and here you need to create an user. So why? Because as I said in the before to it, configuration creating of an user is nothing but a configuration part. That is a configuration activity. So where we can do the configuration or customization, that is in the setup page. So in general, in here we will search for the user, but here you can't find the user there. So here simply type with the user there. This is like users. Click on the users. It shows you the list of users available in your application, in your system. So these are the different users currently we have. So now you say, you could see Yaksha IT, this is the user which I have created and this is my username, right? This is the username which I logged in. Here you could see Yaksha IT and this is my user ID. And what is the remaining users here? This is system users automatically created by the system. Once you are creating an account, these users will be automatically created by the system itself. So we can't delete the system users. Remember this point, we can't delete the system users and this is not permitted as well. I mean to say that is not recommended or you can't delete the users as well. And before creating a new user, let's try to explore what actually we need to consider while creating a user. Let's click on IT Yaksha. For Yaksha IT is my user. You could see the name of the user, alias, and email ID, whatever the email ID I have provided, the username, nickname, this will be automatically generated, and company YIT. And if you have any department with your company, now let's say you are dealing with some recruitment agency. Let's say your client is from recruitment agency. So the department may be IT department, non-IT department, other. You can define your department and what is the divisions you have, what is the address and time zone, everything you can define. Who is the manager for this user, right? This everything you need to define. So in this user activities, while creating the user, the main important here is roles and profile. These are the two things which is very important while creating a user. So what is this role? Role is nothing but now now you know like in any MNC companies like TCS or Infosys or any companies, IT companies. So what would be our role? Junior consultant, senior consultant, team lead in that way. That is your role. In the same way, here in the Salesforce CRM, it will define by default, it defines some roles already available in the Salesforce CRM. So that you can see from here, roles, click on the roles. Here it shows some hierarchy. This is how the roles will be. Now let's say this is like territory based. CEO president, right? And Western sales director, Eastern sales director. This will be called, the below one call it as internal subordinates there. So this is like main CEO, let's say. For the CEO, these are the subordinates. And for this Western Sales Director, this is like subordinate. So this is how the hierarchy, it is like territory based. If you want to see the product based, this is just for your understanding how it looks like. And if you want to set up your own roles, this is currently for the trial account or for whatever the Salesforce, this is how it looks like. CEO, CFO reports to CEO, and for the CFO again, COO. In that way, there will be lot of roles which we already created in the system. Now, if you feel this is not my hierarchy, this is not my roles, I want to define my own roles. That's also possible. You can create your own role like junior consultant, senior consultant, and architect, team leader, whatever. You can create your own roles. That how to create a roles we'll discuss later. But before that, come here to the user here. As I said, here this is the roles where any user. This is nothing but a designation, right? So you can define some roles there and this user license and profile. These are the three items which is very important. So for any user you want to create, definitely you should assign some license to that user. Without license, the user cannot able to access your system, right? And previously we are discussing each and every license has their own definitions. So if you want to work on the integration part, you should have the Salesforce integration license. So if you want to configure or customize the system, you should have the Salesforce license, right? In that way, there will be separate licenses. So you need to define, you need to provide the appropriate license to the user. And this profile will place an important role in Salesforce CRM, where all the security concepts, whatever the security concept which you are going to implement, that will be defined in this profile. Here it shows system administrator. So what is system administrator? System administrator is nothing but it has an ultimate power. So it has ultimate privileges throughout the system. He can delete the object, he can create the object, he can delete the functionality, or he can create the functionality. That is like ultimate power. So basically before to it, what is profile? Profile is nothing but if you check your Android or iPhones there will be different profiles like silent mode, loudspeaker or vibration. So what will happen if you are changing that modes? So based upon the mode, some of the features or some of the access levels will be changed, I mean to say. So if you take the old Nokia mobile, if you are changing the themes, automatically the color, the background music or the ringtone, everything will be changed, right? In the same way, based upon the profile you are going to select, the access levels to that user will be changed. Now, let's say on the account table, I have like different profiles like salesperson profile, sales representative, and sales manager, like different profiles I have. Obviously, sales manager should have the ultimate access levels while compared with the salesperson, right? So I should show some difference between the sales manager and salesperson. So how you are going to define this one? How you are going to define the security? That is nothing but we can achieve by using these profiles. That means while creating a profile, while creating an user itself, we need to understand, so this user, which profile I need to assign to this user. In a simple word, the profile will decide the access levels for that user. Getting my point? So we'll discuss in detail about the profiles while discussing the security concept. If you understand the profile, the total security concept will be understood. So we'll discuss this profile in detail in the coming session. But for now, while creating a user, definitely you need to give your user license, profile, and role, right? Why? Because this is like mandatory thing. I mean to say, based upon these items only, the user is going to access your system. And remaining things which you can simply ignore it. I mean to say ignore it in the sense it's like regular thing where the active is nothing but the user is active, then it would be active. Now, if the user was, if you uncheck this active, then the user will not able to log into the system, right? And if you have the marketing, if it is like marketing user or the service cloud user, you can define the user there. So by seeing the user information, we can understand whether the user is working for the sales or service or marketing there. And here, start of the day, end of the day, whatever the business hours you have set there, that will be applies here, right? A user data space and user file space by this user, that everything is provided here. And again, permission set assignment, as I said, if you want to have any separate permission sets to the user, permission sets is nothing but you are providing extra access levels to the user. We'll see this permission set while discussing the security concept, right? These are the some of the things which comes under permissions and all. So basically, while creating the user, you need to consider this one. Now let's say how to create a user here. As I have the, even though I have the trial account, I can create one more. Two licenses is available, right? So let's create the user. How to create a user? Click on this new user button here. Now let's say the username is Ashok, right? The last name, let me go with here, whatever the red mark it shows, this is like mandatory fields. Here it shows the required fields, required information, red mark, right? So without providing this information, the system will not allow you to move to the next step. So last name, I have provided Ashok and it took the alias. And email, let me provide ashok@yit.com. So currently I don't have the domain YIT, but just for a dummy thing, just I'm going with ashok@yit.com. So this is username. It automatically picks the nickname. Nickname is nothing but his user ID, right? And title, you can give some title like Mr. Right? And company here, company is like YIT. And department, let's say he works on IT department. And division, if you have any division, you can give the different divisions there. And role is not specified. User license, you could see there is some user licenses there. So what is this user licenses? These are the licenses which is provided by the Salesforce. As I just explained, chatter, like which to provide the chatting option, like communication, internal communication, force where you can do some Apex thing and all. So Salesforce integration, where if you want to perform the integration part and all. So different license has their different stories. So if you want to provide the user to have the customization and configuration option, you should go with the Salesforce one. Salesforce is like ultimate thing where it has a maximum privilege there. And coming to the profile, these are the some predefined system provided profiles. That means each profile has their different definition. What about this definition? That profile is nothing but where it provides the I mean to say uh, it provides some access levels on each and every object. That is already some profiles are there that is predefined by the system. So you can also create your own profiles that we'll see in the coming session as I said. Now let's say I'm going with the standard user for the user Ashok here. You could see the role was open now. And let's say, let me give you a COO to the company. Okay, so these three options you should mandatory, it is mandatory to provide, right? Now I am creating a user, the name Ashok with the license as Salesforce and COO role and profile as standard user. And this is active and remaining, it's like regular thing where you can enable it. So if you want to have the phone number, fax, mobile number, you can give this information. And mailing address, you could see, you can select the country. So if you select the country as United States, let's say United Arab Emirates. Now what will happen? We in the previous thing we have given the language settings, right? So whatever he can access the instance from the Urdu now. So that's what based upon the country, the local region language and local currency will be showcased to this user. So you can give your own you can define their countries or not. Right? You can provide their city, zip code, and whatever the address you have, and time zone. So whatever the time zone you are providing there. So once he logs into the system, now if you are dealing with some dates information, the date will automatically converted to his time zone, and whatever the data it will showcase, it will show in his time zone, right? And approver settings, here it shows two things, delegated approver and manager. Manager is something that you can define some manager to the user Ashok. Now let's say I have only one. Let's say Yaksha IT is the manager for Ashok. And what is this delegated approver? Delegated approver is nothing but now let's say Ashok would like to send any approval request. So that will goes to the manager. Usually Ashok manager is Yaksha IT here currently. So whenever the user Ashok sends any approval request, then it will goes to the manager. So if you are providing some delegated approver, currently we don't have another user, but I have only one user, right? So you are providing another delegated approver. Now what will happen? The request will be sent both to the manager and delegated approver. So that means anyone can approve his request. So that is the meaning of this delegated approver. So currently I'm not giving it as I have no other users there, right? Save it. Duplicate username. So let me give with some name there. So the user record got created. This is how the users can be created in the system. Getting my point? Now the user Ashok can access the instance with this user ID and password. So this is how the user can be created. So what is the thing we need to consider here is, now let's say the user was one of the users. Once I created a user went on leave. Let's say the user went on leave. Now I mean to say in the interview perception, they will ask what is the difference between user deactivation and user freeze. They will ask these type of questions in the interview. So this is very important. User deactivate. Here what will happen? Once the user is deactivated, license will be removed, and that license can be reused to another user. So this is user deactivate. So what is freeze? So this is will be an interview question. So just I'm adding this point. License still with the user, but the user cannot log into the system. So that is the difference. What is user deactivate and what is user freeze? This will be the interview question. So here, now let's say one of my user went on vacation for 2 months. Again, he will resume to the work after 2 months. So I no need to deactivate the user, right? So simply I can freeze it. I can click on the freeze. So if I apply this freeze button, the license still with the user Ashok, but I can't use that license. So which is already assigned to the user. He is on occasion that the license is freeze so that he can't access the system. Even though I have provided the profile, the user license and all, as it is freeze, he can't access the system, right? That is freeze. So what is user deactivate? User deactivate is nothing but once I am clicking on this, unchecking this active. So this one, deactivating users removed from all delegated groups, right? I'm sharing privileges. So if I uncheck this one, save it, now the user will be deactivated. So once this is deactivated, I can reuse the license. I can also reuse the license. That's the meaning of it. So if you see the company information, so previously the remaining license is 2. Now it shows 1. That means I just used the one license for the user Ashok, right? So that's the reason it shows 1. So if you can check on your own by seeing the freeze option, if you freeze it, still it shows 1. But if you deactivated it, the remaining license it will show as 2. That means if you are deactivating the user, the license can be used for the another user. That means you can create another user and you can use that license. Anyhow, while you are purchasing the licenses from the Salesforce, that means you are investing some amount there, right? So that means you are getting some licenses from Salesforce. So you can assign those licenses to the users so that users can access your system. So this freeze and user deactivate, this will be like in the interview, they will ask this question. So try to remember this point, right? This is about like how to set up the company information, business hours, or whatever the company settings are now. And then we have seen like what is storage usage. So how the database maintained in the Salesforce. I mean to say whenever you are creating an object will consist of some data. So how this data is maintaining in the backend, like data backend that we have discussed, like that is data storage is divided into 3 parts. 3 parts. One is data storage, file storage, and big object storage. We have just discussed that part. And then how to create an user we have seen. And after creating an user, what is the difference between the user deactivation and user freeze? That's what we have discussed it so far. So in the tomorrow session, we'll explore the core concept like data types. So if you want to create any objects, first you need to understand what are the data types available, what are the data types support. So that would be the core concept. So don't miss the tomorrow session. So that's it from my end for today. Please let me know if you have any questions on today's or yesterday's topic. I am going to share these notes in the WhatsApp group, and please go through the WhatsApp notes as well. Yeah, now you can ask if you have any questions. And yesterday I just suggested to create a trial account. So I guess up to now you people already created a trial account. If you already created, that today task would be try to create another user and check what is the license count there. After creating a trial account, first check the count and then create another user and then check the count. First deactivate the created user and check the count, and freeze the user and check the count. Why? Because this is like interview question. Once you practice the thing, that would be like that will be in your mind, so that it is easy to answer that type of questions. And by tomorrow, like if you are not created till now, I mean to say trial account was not created up to now, so try to create at least today. Why? Because from the tomorrow we are going to create some core concepts. We are going to see some core concepts where we are going to create build some application from tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So be prepared with your trial account. Yeah, thank you all. So if any questions, please let me know. Okay, I will take the silence as no questions and we'll wind up the session for today and we'll continue in the tomorrow's session at the same time. Thank you all.